Hello and welcome to this lecture, and in this lecture we are going to learn something which is called as string operations. So we have already learned about strings, but still I would like to give you a brief overview of strings. So anything in Python which is expressed in single quotes or double quotes like this is going to be a string. So if you type in hello, so this thing right here is going to be a string. Now even if you have some number like 5, but if you have that number in single quotes or double quotes, that means you have a string and you don't have a number. So this thing right here, which is 5, is not an integer. Instead, it is actually a string in Python. So now let's learn one of the basic operations in Python, which is called as concatenation. So concatenation is nothing but it is something which is called as joining of two strings. So let's say if you want to join two strings, then you could use the concatenation operation. So let's say you have something which is called as hello, and let's say you want to join this thing with a new string which is called as world. So let's type in world here. So as you could see, we have now two strings, and in order to join these two strings, what we do is that we use a plus sign, which is nothing but the concatenation operator, which is going to join the two strings together. So if you type in hello plus world, that is going to give you a single string which says hello world. Now what if we actually specify numbers in double quotes? So for example, if you specify 5 plus 5, the answer to this is not going to be 10, instead it is going to be 55. If you don't believe me, let me just press enter, and as you could see, the answer is actually 55, because this plus sign right here is not actually an addition operation. Instead, it is a concatenation operation to join two strings. But if you were to type in 5 plus 5, you will get an answer as 10. But as we have mentioned 5 in single quotes or double quotes, that means 5 is not an integer in this case. Instead, it is a string. So if you have some string, if you add two strings, you are going to get the answer as the concatenation of two strings. That is nothing but joining two strings together. And also you could join multiple strings together. So let's say if you have something like hello, I am and happy. So as you could see, what I did here is that I took multiple strings together and I simply added them up, or I simply performed the concatenation operation by including a plus sign in between each of these strings. So as you could see, now we have the result as hello, I am happy. So that was all about the concatenation operation. Now let's learn if we could concatenate an integer and a string value. So as I mentioned, a string value is represented in double quotes or single quotes. So let's say we type in hello, and let's say you want to add hello, which is a string value, with 5, which is an integer value. So if you hit enter, as you could see, we have an error over there. But if we mention 5 as a string in double quotes and hit enter, as you could see, we have the result as hello 5. So you could only perform concatenation operation on two strings. So you need to have multiple strings, only then you could use the plus sign to concatenate them. Now let's learn if we could actually multiply a string with an integer. So what if we actually have a string which is called as, let's say, some person's name, which is Rob. So if we have Rob and if we multiply Rob by 3, let's see what actually happens. So as you could see, when we multiply a string by any number, the string actually gets repeated by the number which we have specified. So if we type in Rob and if we multiply it by 10, as you could see, we have Rob 10 times right over here. So this is what happens if you try to multiply a string with an integer value. But what if we actually multiply a string with another string? So let's see what happens in this case. So if we have Rob, and if we convert this string, and if we convert this 10 to a string by having double quotes here, and if we hit enter, as you could see, this time we actually have an error. And the reason for that is we cannot multiply a string with a string. So the only thing which you could do is that you could add two strings. You could multiply a string with an integer, but you could not add a string with an integer, or you cannot multiply a string with a string. So those were some basic string operations, and we will be needing these operations in the upcoming lecture where we will be solving some complex programming challenges. So make sure that you understand this stuff in a better way so that this proves to be helpful for you in the upcoming lectures, in the upcoming sections. So that's it for this lecture, and I hope you guys understood the concatenation string operation. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next lecture. Thank you.